Hey, YouTubers, Tasman here, bringing you a kind of tutorial series kind of thing. I might actually post this on both my Tasman channel and my Taz Teaches channel, just so you know. So if you're watching it on either of those, it's also on the other one. You should check both of them out. There's lots of good stuff on both of them. So what I am doing is I'm kind of doing a tutorial on Fantasy Grounds. And for those of you that don't know what Fantasy Grounds is kind of like Roll20. And if you don't know what Roll20 is, Roll20 is a virtual tabletop software or a web application. It's better to say web application for playing role-playing games such as D&D, Pathfinder, Starfinder, Call of Cthulhu, Savage Worlds, and lots and lots and lots of other games. So, Fantasy Grounds, unlike Roll20, is one that you can download onto your system and not require a web portal, I guess. Also, another nice thing about Fantasy Grounds is Roll20 is only a subscription base where you have to pay a subscription amount monthly or whatever. Fantasy Grounds does have that kind of an option. However, it also has a one-time buy option, which is what I like a lot better because I don't like those subscription ones. So let's, as you can see, this is kind of the beginning of Fantasy Grounds, and we'll come to that in just a minute, but I want to show you how to get Fantasy Grounds. So first thing you're going to want to do is go into Google maybe and type Fantasy, Fantasy, Grounds. And you'll see it pulls up right here as the first one. If you also want, you can just go to HTTP, you can do the s://www.fantasygrounds.com. So if we go there, you'll get a page that looks like this. Now this is going to explain just a little bit about, these are types of games that work with it. And there's also, a community out there that's developing other rule sets for other games. But anyway, so like I was saying, there are three versions of Fantasy Grounds. So you have the demo version or the free version, you have the standard version, and you have the ultimate version. Now, the demo version, you can play a game hosted by Ultimate. You have the rule sets for Dungeons and Dragons 2E, 3.5, 4E, 5E, the Fate Core, Pathfinder RPG 2, so it's the second Pathfinder, Numenera, and Starfinder. With Standard, you can pretty much do everything you can with Ultimate, with the exception of only Standard and Ultimate can join a hosted game. So as you can see here, host game for Standard and Ultimate. You cannot host game for demo players. If you get out the big guns and you pay a little bit more, that's considerably more, but anyway, if you pay more, you actually can get the Ultimate, which you can host games that standard users can get into and demo users. This is actually the option that I did. So I have the Ultimate version. Now, here is the subscription model. This, of course, is free, so there's no subscription. You can download for Windows, Mac. You can also do the standard is a $3.99 a month for the standard subscription, and it's $9.99 a month for the ultimate subscription. Or if you just are like me and don't like paying subscriptions because you feel like you'll waste money if you do that or whatever, you can outright buy it. So one-time price $39 for the month for the standard, and then $149 for the ultimate. And like I said, I do have the ultimate, so anyone that I invite to my table only need the free version, which is epic. Now, you can get it for Steam. You can download it with Steam. You can get it for Windows PCs, Mac OS, and Linux. Cross-platform play is allowed. You know, a Steam one can connect to Mac OS, Linux can connect to PC, so on and so forth. But anyway, that's all you have to do. So when you download this guy, you'll get a little executable called the FG Web Installer, and it is pretty small and it installs quite fast, which is nice. Only takes a moment. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to minimize this window because we might need it later. I wanted to show you also on Steam that it is available in Steam. So here we have our Steam store, and if we type FANTASY Fantasy GROUNDS and hit enter, you'll see we have Fantasy Grounds and Fantasy Grounds Ultimate. So if you do buy Fantasy Grounds, you can, for $39.99. For $109.99, you can actually get the Ultimate upgrade. Now, one thing that you would have to dig pretty far for is that free version. So as you can see, I actually have both these because I did do the upgrade. But if I wanted the free version, you just have to type the same thing we did before, FANTASY GROUNDS, and at the end you just want to type demo, DEMO, and there you go, free demo. So you can actually get the free demo also in Steam, but it's kind of hidden. It doesn't come up as a default one. So now that we've gone over that, by the way, I'm hoping this video, this is only going to basically be how to install it, and then we're going to talk about part of the interface. I don't want these videos to go too long, just because I don't want you to have to like sift through an hour of video to find just the part you want. So this is just kind of the installation and then part one of the interface. So installation configuration. So once you have Fantasy Grounds installer installed and you launch it, you'll be greeted with a nice thing like this. And you'll have three options: settings, update, and close. Update actually launches it. Settings is the one you're going to want to click, and if you click it, you'll get a nice little window like this. You'll get a UAC, you know, the little pop-up that says enter your username and password for a elevated account, someone with admin privileges. But at the top, if you have a key for standard or ultimate, you can just put it up in there. If you don't have the key, if you have the demo one, you just leave it blank. And then the default directory for your data is actually in your app data. I like to move mine where it's all in one place, so if I want to back up the whole thing, I can just back up the whole thing. So I put mine on my D drive in a directory called Fantasy Grounds, and then the data, or data, however you want to say it, I actually let that put it in a data folder. So if we go look at my hard drive right here, like I show, if we go up, not down, to the D drive, you can see I have Fantasy Grounds. This, when you actually install it, basically that's all it puts in here. If you tell it to put data, it'll put it there. Exports is a directory I created just to keep the characters that I create, so I back them up. But when you do it, you get this. If you do it the way I did and have your data go in the same directory, you'll have this data which has the cache, your campaigns, your characters, your documents, extensions, modules, portraits, rule sets, tokens, utilities, a vault, and then these other folders. So just wanted to let you know the default location that it puts it, I believe, is in your roaming profile inside of your app data. Quickest way to get there, if you don't know, is just do a percent sign, type app data, and a close percent sign. And I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember which one it actually puts it in, but I believe it's in roaming. If it's not there, it might be in one of these two, and there will just be a Fantasy Grounds listed right off the base, so you should be able to find it. Actually, Smite works. Oh, that's the print tool. So anyway, that's how you do that. So once you've done this, you don't need to worry about purchases login unless you actually start buying stuff. It's pointless if you have the free version to buy stuff, because I don't think it actually works with stuff, but I'm not 100% sure. And then everything else you just leave the same, and then you click the OK button. Once you've done that, it'll actually probably do some work stuff. This guy will get populated. And then once that's done, you can actually click update, which will go out to the server. Make sure you have all the latest rule sets and files that you've purchased and such, and then get you into the actual application. So if we click update, you'll be greeted with this page right here. So as an ultimate and a standard user, you'll get this whole thing here. If you're only on demo or free, I think it says free right there. Instead of saying create new campaign, I believe it says create demo campaign. And then there's something else that's a little different. I think there's like play starter campaign or something like that. I can't remember what it is. But basically, it's kind of a tutorial. So if you get that, I highly recommend you try it out. So the load campaign button will let you load campaigns. You'll be able to get into your campaign that you have. Create new campaign. Obviously, you give it a campaign name. If you want to have a username, once you set this once, it'll automatically put it in Ghost Print right there. Then you can put a password on it if you want. Then, of course, you can choose your rule set. These ones that are darkened, they mean that you actually have to purchase them. So you can see you actually have a purchase option, where all these other ones are free ones that come with it. And the one we care about basically is the 5e, and it comes free. These options over here on the side are to do with fonts, themes, and the little logos that might be available for the desktop, which we'll talk about that later also. Then once you've well, basically you don't need this stuff. If you're connecting so people connect to you, you can see what your external IP is, what your internal IP is. This is an alias, so you can actually give this, what does that say? Tiny Darrow Crazy Grave. So I would give that to my people, and they could actually put that in instead of an IP address, and it kind of protects your IP address. But it's based off of the server. So I mean, I can click it and change it all the time. And if I don't have my firewall open, then you can't get to it anyway. You can also test if you're able to access your internal network from the outside. So you can click Run Test here, and this will check if you have port. I can't point to it because every time right here it says 1802. 1802 is the port you need to either forward or have open in your firewall and point to whatever the server is that's going to be hosting your game. Then there's the join game. This is what you use if you're on a demo account. You would type in here your name. We'll just use Tazzy, T4ZZIE. And then the host address. In this case, it'll be LOCALHOST, localhost, because it's on this same machine. Other words, you would put in that alias. As you can see, you could put in that ninja blah blah blah. Or if they give you an IP address that's like a 103.221.whatever, you can put that in there, and then you just click start. There's also manage characters. If you've connected to any other tables and you've played, you will have access to your character that you've played, to look at them and stuff like that. There's the check for updates button. Generally, when you click the update button to launch it, you won't need this. If you ever do need an update, this will be red. There's the settings, which we already saw, and then there's the start. So we're going to join a campaign because right here, I actually have a, well, this is my ultimate license also. However, this is the one that's going to be hosting what we're going to do. So, since we're here, we're just doing localhost. Let's go ahead and hit start. As you can see, there's a password. I believe this password I set was just T4ZZ. Hopefully. If not, I have to go exit the other one and come back in. Please be it. I need to grab a drink while I do that. Okay, looks like it's working because it didn't come back saying that it's not. Okay, so when you first come up, if you're joining a table, you'll actually get, basically you'll get this popping up. You'll also get this little campaign setup. right now we're just going to close this, but everything we can do in here we can use with our little buttons and such. So we're not going to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. The other thing is if you have available, and the guy I've actually done this tutorial a couple times, and yeah, this barbarian needs to be cleared. And where's the other one? Mohawk, I think, needs to be cleared. And Taz needs to be cleared. That is the ones. Okay, let me just hide this guy again. All right, so if we close this, if we lose that or close it on accident, we can always get it back by clicking on character, and now you can see those ones that weren't listed before. But generally, if you are joining a campaign and you already have a character created, you will just select your character. So for example, if we said Mohawk the Gremlin, we would click that and we can actually see all his character sheet stuff right here. We're not going to go in that right now because we are not going to talk about this side of the screen. We're just going to talk about this side and these buttons down here, part of the screen, because that's going to take, I think we'll be right at about 20 minutes when we're done. So first thing, once you've selected a character, in the host thing, you'll also see that we are connected there. And if we go down here, we can see now it is owned by Tazzy. That's all I really want to talk about with this guy right now. Okay, so what I want to show you first is this guy right here. This is probably the most important part. This is where you roll your dice. This is where you chat. You can say hello. And once again, inside our thing here, you can see it says hello from Mohawk the Gremlin. So that's the last time I think I'm going to pull that up. So anyway, you'll notice I really can't do much. I can't move this or anything. That's not entirely true. You can move this. You just have to right click on it, click on the little lock, and now you can see we can move it just fine. We can also kind of put it where we want it. Maybe make it a little lower. I don't know. Something like that. We can make it longer. We can make it longer here. And then we can relock it. This dice tower acts the same way, and we'll talk about that. I think we're going to talk about that in our next time. We're not going to do that right now, because I don't think we will have time. Just going to move you up a little bit. There we go. Now lock it. All right, so this is the main chat window. If you have questions about what you can do, you can always type / and help. So the / I guess you can call them / commands. They're kind of typical. I'm not going to go through all of these. Some of the more important ones is there's this die one, which will let you roll a dice manually. And there's also a save if you're the campaign owner and stuff. That is a very nice one to know about. It saves your progress. There's also an export. Where's export? Oh, I'm joining the game, so I'm not going to see export. Export would probably pull up in this one. Like if I do / help. Yeah, see, there's a lot more. There's like export character, and so on and so forth. And I said that was the last time I was bringing it up. I totally lied. Apologize. But anyway, so there's lots of little things. Like if you wanted to roll, say, a 3d20, you could just type /die 3d20. Hit enter, and there you go, 3d20. It automatically adds them up for you, and it will tell you the value. So it's really nice in that case. You could also have it say, you could say, let's do that again, hit up arrow. Let's just turn it into D20 and have the message looking. So now you see we are looking, rolled a D20, we got a 1, which is a critical failure. A 20 is a critical success, or a natural 20. A 1 is considered kind of a critical failure. That's not always 100% the actual D&D rules. That is more just for the fun of it. But anyway, so you can do that. The other thing you might notice, we have some dices down here. And we can simply pick up a dice and throw it in this window, and that will roll it. Holy cow, 2 ones in a row. That is not good. The other thing we can do with this is we can actually left click to pick it up. We can right click and we can actually roll 2 of them. Or we can actually just right click on it here and say, oh, I want to roll 20 of them. And bam, there we go. There's our result of rolling 20. You also have the option of right clicking, and you can right click. I think it's around 60 is how many is the total. I think there's one more ring it'll form. I think, and there we go. So I can't click anymore. Roll that. You can see we just got a massive number. So you have your D20, you have your D12, your D10, you have a D8, a D6, and a D4. So whoop, you just roll it and it will tell you what you get. Oh, really easy. Now, one thing that might happen is you might start getting dice all over your desk and stuff like this, and it gets a little messy and you can't remember where they are. The only place that it registers a roll is when it's inside the chat window. So you might get them kind of messy and you're like, oh, but I can't quite get them to, you know, like that just went into that one. So when in doubt, right click. As you can see here, there's an arranged dice. If I click it, bam, they're back to starting position. The other thing is, like, if I wanted to create a new position, like I didn't like my dice down here, I wanted them up here or something, I could drag them exactly where I want them, and then I can actually say set arranged position, and that would give them a new position. So anytime I click that, it would go ahead and put them all up there. So that is, in a nutshell, these dice down here and the window up here, with the exception of one thing that I just barely thought of. Like I was showing here, you can click on these and you can roll 20, 10, 5, 4, 3 of them. There is one die that has a difference to it, and that is the 10-sided dice. And this is because sometimes you might be asked to roll a percentile dice, in which case what you do is you right click on it and you can see a little percentile. What this will do is attach to your mouse pointer 2 dice. You'll notice one of them looks like regular 1 through 10. The other one looks like it's is actually 10 through 100 or 10 through 00. So if I roll those, you'll see that's a 50 and that's a 3, so 53. The only thing that's different with those is if I get 3 zeros, so the double digit dice being 00 and the single digit dice being a single 0, that's 100. Whereas if the double dice is 00 and then the single dice is anything 1 through 9, then it's 1 through 9. I don't know if we can be lucky enough to actually get that, but let's try. Let's see if we can get anything that's low. Oh, there we go. 001. Wow. We are stinking on the rolling. Look at all these ones. Those are actually usually kind of hard to get. So some other things you might do in games. Oh, see, that's so annoying. You can't get them where you want them, so you just reset them. Another thing that you can do is, for example, with Dungeons and Dragons, you have something called roll with advantage, roll with disadvantage. What this means is you actually take 2 dice like this and you roll them and you keep the lower of the 2 and the 3. However, you'll notice it added them together and you don't necessarily want that, especially if you have other dice that are in the roll or something like that. You only want it to either keep the 2 or the 3. So that's what these buttons over here are. They're the modifiers, and you have advantage, ADV, and you have disadvantage, DIS. So if I want to roll with advantage, now all I have to do is pick up 1 die here, and when you roll it, it'll magically turn into 2 die, and it will keep the higher of the 2. So what is that, 18 and 14? So it kept the 18, dropped the 14. And now the advantage button is no longer clicked. We can also do the same with disadvantage, which will keep the lower of the 2. So we had a 7 and a 3. We kept the 3 because it's the lower of the 2. So that's advantage and disadvantage. Also, we might be, let's say we have a dagger and the DM says that because the person's prone or whatever, for whatever reason, you get a +2 on it. So what we can do is click the +2, roll the die, and you can see we got 4 and we got 2, so we got a total of 6. And that's our roll. We can also do the -2 or 5. So there we go. We got a 2, -2, 0. You can also add in your own. So like if we come here, click in this window once where it says adjusting, we can say add 15. So we could say a 4-sided dice, that's 3 plus 15 is 18. And if we want to do a -1, we just hit negative first and say -23. So roll that. No matter what it gets, it's going to be worse. So there you go. Lots of the things as we go through this, you're going to learn that a lot of this part is actually automatic, with the exception maybe your DM will say, oh, roll that with advantage, because you know you're looking from a height looking down on things and you have an advantage on spotting something. So you would say, okay, well, if I get a, let's say 15 or higher, we see it, right? We don't see jack. So, but we did roll with advantage. Or maybe we're inside a thicket or something like that, and we're trying to see something outside the thicket. Well, we're going to roll with disadvantage because we can't really see outside. So that kind of does the chat window. This, oh, one other thing. Actually, you know what? We're not going to do this part of the chat window until we get into the buttons, because I think that's where it's, or into character sheets or something, because that's where it's going to be the best. So the last thing I want to talk about, and we're going to be maybe at 30 minutes, is these buttons down here. You'll notice they say 1 through 12. These are hot buttons. So let's say, for example, one of the ways you can roll a character is you roll 4 6-sided dice and you throw away the lowest number. So we could do that pretty easily by picking up a 6-sided dice, right-clicking 3 times, and rolling. And you'll see we got a 4, a 6, a 3, and a 3. So we'd throw away that 3, and we get a 13, right? So this version, the next version of Fantasy Grounds, can actually do advanced stuff like that, doing exploding dice, so reroll ones, and all kinds of fun stuff. But now if I want to roll, because I have 6 attributes, and we'll talk about those later, I have to do it again. Well, this is getting a bit annoying, and that is a terrible roll. We got a 9. Well, if I want to make it a little easier on myself, I can actually pick up this first time, right-click it 3 times, and drag it and drop it on top of a hotbar. Now, it might be hard to remember what this is, so you can always right-click, you can clear it, or you can edit the label. So here we could say 4d6, right? Because we're rolling our 4d6, hit enter, and now you can always see that. Now, if I simply click this button, I can roll my die, all 4 of them. Wow, another terrible roll. Or I can even hit, these are your function keys, so if I hit F1, there we go again. And if I have to roll 6 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, this would be a terrible character. I mean terrible. This is the best attribute, and it actually is going to go down to 16. But anyway, you can kind of see you can do that. You can also do things with, I wonder, actually, you know, I've never tried this. Can we do it with like advantage? And then let's try disadvantage. Wait, both of them are clicked. What does that do? No, it doesn't look like he, oh, it did do, oh, it just has the word advantage. Well, that's silly. But you can do things like that. Other things you can do, which I'm just going to point out really quick because it's part of this, is let's say your dungeon master gives you a map. Let's see, can we do a map? M-A-P. So if we have a map here, we can actually grab maps. So if you have, depending on the mode that you're using, you or your theme, you might have a little eye, you might have a little buckler shield, you might have a dragon head. But anytime you see these things at the end, you can actually drag them, and you can see I can drag that in there, and it says map 45 by 55. I don't remember why it says that, but that's what it says. Then if I click on that, I can instantly pull up my map. I can also do this with character sheets. So if I have my character sheet here, which one am I? I am Oh, actually, can I do it from here? I don't know if this will work. Oh, maybe it did. Oh, it did work. Okay, so anyway, now I can pull up my character sheet really quick. Or if I'm given parts of the story, which there are none shared so far, so I don't have any of those, I can put story parts. The next thing I want to talk about this, and then I think we're done with part one, is that you have way more than 12 of these buttons. And what I mean by that, if I hold down no key, if I don't have any keys held down, I have the 1 through 12 here. If I hold down shift, I get S 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If I hold control, I get C 1 through 12. If I hold alt, I get all A 1 through 12. If I hold shift and alt, I get SA 1 through 12. If I hold shift and control, I get SC 1 through 12. If I control alt, I get CA 1 through 12. And finally, if I hold shift, control, and alt, I get SCA 1 through 12. So you can actually assign lots and lots of different things. You might have a hard time remembering, oh wait, where did I put that one? So who knows? So anyway, this is just a really quick thing trying to explain how, one, to get Fantasy Grounds, two, the basic starting of the interface. So this is part one of our interface. And it's basically this part right here. In the next episode, we will talk about all these buttons, and then possibly maybe in future episodes, we'll dive in deeper on all the different items. Now, by the way, when you load yours up, it might not look like this, and we will talk about that in the next video, how to get more buttons or less buttons or any amount of buttons you want. Well, that it allows. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my Discord and my other channels, and don't forget about my great big game giveaway on my Tasman channel. When I hit 1,000 subs, did I not type that right? Oh, I think I have to type it in here. When I hit 1,000 subs, I'm giving away 57 Steam games. COEAR. Bing! I'm preparing for the next video because I'm going to do it back to back, I guess. Anyway, yeah, when I hit 1,000 subs, I'm giving away 57 Steam games. That averages out to be 1 out of every 20 subs will get a game. That's pretty darn epic, if you ask me. And I think that's about it. So until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.